line. So thank you, one of my speakers who is already here. Thank you so much, Afua. Um, I think I'm going to pass the mic to you for some couple of minutes. If you can talk through some of the things we've been seeing since the protest erupted on Thursday, and you like myself have known for a while that, because we've been on Twitter, that organizers have been kind of putting this protest together and trying to mobilize for it. So if you can say a few words, and then we will kind of start chopping it up and getting into, some of the issues and some of the grievances that people have been raising online, but, in person, etc.
Firstly, shout outs to you, Barbara, for setting this up and everyone who took time to make this platform available for everyone to get educated, to get empowered. You have been doing a lot of work, so big up yourself, Barbara, Adam. I am so proud of you. Proud of everyone here.
And all the team in Ghana. It's really been a team effort. It's really been a team effort. So shout out to everyone that has barely had any sleep and been working very hard to get the issues out there.
Yep. It's been empowering. It's been empowering watching people of all walks of life. Every Ghanaian, no matter where they are in the diaspora, if they're on ground, all over the world, using social media as a tool and empowering, donating. It's been wonderful to see. The question now for a lot of different generations, because I think many of us want to make this as intergenerational, but Ghana's not working for anyone. It's the youth that are organizing and going to the street, but we want to educate every Ghanaian and empower every Ghanaian to understand why this is our right. So I will start with the police and protest permits, because there's been questions alongside what was it Thursday that the police got violent and enacted violence towards the protesters. Many people were confused, had questions if the protesters navigated this demonstration legally. So my first point that I want to bring up is that they did. And besides even the fact that they did take the steps and they've been doing, Fix the Country has been doing, this is their third protest and demonstration. So they've been doing this work. They're lawyers. They know the steps to take to protest legally, and even put that aside. I want to point out to everyone that protesting is your right if you will live in a democratic state. There's a social contract between your government and you. And the minute that your government does not uphold their part, you have every single right to hold your government accountable. So that question surrounding if the protesters had the right or did anything wrong, we need to unlearn that. They had the right to be on that street that day, and they also did follow the steps to ensure that the police were notified. And so how the police enacted violence and their reaction to that, reaction to citizens demonstrating, was completely wrong and harmful. Jamal is here. So police and protest permits. So there's an article from 1992, the 1992 Constitution, that states, a person shall have the freedom of assembly, including the freedom to take part in processions and demonstrations. In the case of the New Patriotic Party versus Inspector General of Police in 1993, the Supreme Court interpreted Section 7, 8, 12, and 13 of the Public Order Act in 1972 and unanimously decided that these provisions were in conflict with Article 21 of the Constitution. Since then, any restriction on the right to freedom of assembly is illegal. So anyone, and I want us to all be empowered by this information. Anyone that has questioned if the protesters who are on the road for these past 3 days have done anything illegal or wrong, you can read it for here. It's been shared by Adam. We know now that they have done absolutely wrong. And again, this is their right. We know that it is their right because Ghanaians have a list of complaints, a list of issues that they're looking at their government and seeing they're not upholding. In 2023, a quality of life that every Ghanaian should be entitled to is not happening for them. And so we can talk through that and see the different issues that Ghanaians who are protesting today are asking for. So we have economic hardships, we have insecurity and unrest, we have lots of corruption, the dying education system, struggling healthcare system. The protester demands are to withdraw the anti-LGBTQ bill, the Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill, which is disgusting, restore access to pension funds, an immediate halt on borrowing and a plan for economic growth, a review and restructuring of taxes that target high earners, a plan for fixing major roads, especially the Accra Tema motorway, and better and more adequate healthcare resources. I mean, why this is so important to me is reading those lists, it goes to show that our protesters are fighting for all of us. From the pensions to the roads to the healthcare to the education, every Ghanaian is impacted by this lack of care and structure and functionality of our government. Every Ghanaian is suffering under this government because these simple things that in 2023, with the technological advance that we are in this world, these things should not only be owed, but should already happened. So I don't know, Adam, and we have a speaker here, Elika. Thank you, Elika, for coming and joining in. We want to point out that our protesters are fighting for their lives. They're fighting for their human rights. I cannot believe that in 2023, as these things, as we're saying, right, when we listed and mentioned education, healthcare, roads, right, infrastructures, as these things are not being fulfilled by the government, they are wasting their energy and their time drafting an anti-LGBTQ bill, drafting a bill that criminalizes citizens of Ghana, instead of using those resources and the time to ensure that they're building a country that we all deserve to live in. And so I see it as two things. They're scapegoating and criminalizing a group of people, a community of people, because they understand punching down is much easier for the average Ghanaian than to look up and hold their government accountable. And that's what makes me sick about this. The design behind this bill, the intention behind this bill, to scapegoat themselves from accountability and then in turn criminalize human beings that don't deserve it. I feel like I'm going on a rant and I'm talking, but Elika and Adam, do you have anything you would like to add?
Thank you, Afa, for kind of outlining what the demands are and outlining what, the current situation is back in Ghana, specifically, when things kicked off on Thursday, and kind of this lie that is being perpetuated that, it's an illegal protest. I'm seeing a lot of tweets online being like, oh, you didn't have permission, etc., etc. And we don't need permission to, protest, to demonstrate. In fact, all we have to do is inform the police, and they're supposed to provide us with security in order to enact our constitutional right to protest and demonstrate. I think another thing as well is a lot of people have been flagging up, Kwame, which was like an infamous protest in the 90s, which Akufo-Addo was kind of leading and a part of, and saying, when you were in opposition, you were leading protests, and now that people are protesting you, you're cracking down. And I think it's important to give, kind of political context. Akufo-Addo is not on the side of Ghanaians. Akufo-Addo was on a protest of Kwame in 92 because he wanted to be in power. he just used the issues and the things that were affecting our Ghanaians to pretend that he cared and that, he was in opposition to that. And that's very clear. I say that with confidence because if we look at what's happening today, this is not an action of a man, an individual, a party, or a government that cares about the majority of Ghanaians, right? So that's Kwame Preko, and his involvement in it was a deliberate tactic to give the impression that he is for the Ghanaian people. And now that he is in power and has caused all these, economic downturn, and again, government supporters will say, oh, COVID, etc. And yes, COVID definitely played a role. COVID definitely had an impact, but we know that the government was given a lot of money from like international bodies. We know that for a fact, and we've seen reports come out that these funds were misused and mishandled and not used for the things that they were meant to. We're talking about a shortage of vaccine. For diseases that globally we've eradicated, but in Ghana they've come up, and there's no money to buy vaccines, and children have died as a result. So these are all these issues are connected, and this protest is absolutely political. It's political because Akufo-Addo and his party, their kind of politics is affecting us. It's affecting the livelihoods. It's affecting families. It's affecting individuals. Not to make it too personal, but I have family members who are contacting me on a regular basis. I have aunties who used to sew and make money and were very independent. And it's actually very dehumanizing that an economy is so bad that people have to resort to, putting pressure on other family members who are not in Ghana. Again, I don't have any problem, kind of sending money back home and supporting and helping my families. But, it shouldn't be the only way in which people can survive. It shouldn't be so bad that, I'm getting messages, if we don't have money, then we can't eat, etc., etc. This is what people are going through right now. And this is why these protests are, are very important. It's very important for us to, stand up and be counted. It's very important for us to turn out on the streets. And, this is a time where we don't fall into, that kind of Ghanaian socialization, which is all and don't make noise and don't call people out and you have to be respectful. Akufo-Addo doesn't respect him, and his government don't respect Ghanaians. If they respected Ghanaians, they wouldn't do half of the things that they do. They wouldn't do any of the things that they do. Absolutely none. They would not do them if they respected Ghanaians. So it's time for us to demand that respect from them. It's time for us to say enough is enough. We want a different Ghana. We want better things for each other. We want an economic prosperity. We want people to enjoy the fruits of their labor. Why are people standing in the sun for hours and hours and hours and hours a day and cannot make ends meet? That is wrong. That is absolutely wrong. That should not be the case. People should not be working in the sun hours, or, in a day and not be able to, look after their family or look after themselves or have nice things. These are what we're talking about. And yes, there's an economic downturn globally, but it is a choice to continue to put your boot on the necks of Ghanaians, okay? Like, we can understand that, economically things are taking a downturn, but economically things are taking a downturn, and then you people are stealing on top. You people are hoarding wealth on top. So it's like you've got 2 foot on our necks and you won't let it go. And I think it's important that, we continue to reiterate these issues. And it's politics. Politics affect, I don't want to do, I don't want to, but no, everything is determined by politics. Pregnant women are lying on the floor in hospitals. That's a political issue that we need to raise. That's a political issue that we need to raise. So sorry, we're just having some technical difficulties trying to get someone up to speak. Jamal, you're here. Jamal, hey, I've been sending you invites. To come up and speak. You are here now. Speak.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Am I live?
We can hear you loud and clear.
Yes, beautiful. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Um, may I begin by applauding those of us right on here and then the rest of us on the field, demanding what's rightfully ours, demanding that which makes us human beings. You know, um, and then also I'd also like to add that with all due disrespect to the president, Mr. Akufo-Addo, he's a disgrace. I'll make it personal. I have to make it personal because it's gotten really personal. I've gotten relatives who have lost their lives because there were no beds in the hospital. I've gotten relatives who had to die because light went out, and then the person lost his life in less than a minute because he was on life support. So this is personal. I really don't care if you want to be